Hello, welcome to another episode of High Tea with Honey. Today, we have a very special guest joining us, someone who brings a wealth of experience from both the public and private sectors and political sectors. With the American president election just around the corner, it's pivotal time, not just for US, but the entire world. And today, I'm thrilled to discuss with my old friend, Dan Mathews. Welcome, Dan.
Hey, honey, how are you? Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I am good, thank you. So Dan originally hailed from India and now a proud Texas resident, and he has a fascinating journey from starting his career as a chemical engineer in the oil and gas industry to work in corporate America. Now he serves on the board of a private equity firm. Dan also is a conservative leader, chairing the Texas Conservative Forum, and has run both the Texas House of Representatives and the U.S. Congress. So personally, I'm excited to share my perspective as well. Even though I'm not democratic, especially we're talking about U.S. politics. However, Kamala Harris, who I greatly admire for her background, as a fellow Indian origin individual, it's remarkable to see someone like her raised to such prominence. So grab a cup of tea, sit back, and let's dive into a fascinating conversation with Dan. Thank you, Dan, for joining me. Welcome to High Tea with Honey. How are you today?
Fine, honey, thanks for having me. Great to be with you. I'm doing great.
Thank you, Dan. So, American politics, that's where we're going to be talking. So, it's only 2 weeks away. You're going to choose your next president. The world is watching, so people in the UK and beyond. So, what's your perspective on both candidates, the former President Trump from Republican Party and the Democratic Party Vice President Kamala Harris?
Well, that's true. It's within 2 weeks from today. America will be electing a new president. It could be the former president, 45th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, or the current vice president, Kamala Harris. Like you said, America is watching, UK is watching, and the entire world is watching because this is one of the crucial elections happens around the world. Everyone has a stake just because America set the stage. Everyone knows that. And they set the tone in how their policies are, whether it's a foreign policy or the energy policy or, certain stand against countries or those kind of things really affect everyone. So in India, all around Europe, Middle East, America, Canada, everyone is watching and looking at November 5th. It's going to be a day that America will have a new president. So that's where we are now. Well, if you're asking me about the candidates, I want to give you a perspective of both candidates, not in a nonpartisan level. So everyone knows about Donald Trump. Everyone knows him. He was there in the White House for 4 years. He had some good policies. Some policies weren't that so great. Everyone knows about him. But on the other side, Kamala Harris is someone is pretty much unknown. No one knows it. Well, she did not go through the primary process because primary process is what it makes a candidate. She did on 2020. However, even before any state voted for the primary election, she quit. Then she was later appointed or elected as the vice president. So there is some leeway for her to let Americans know that who she is. So I think she is doing her best. Trump is doing his best. If you look at American politics, it's all come to 7 states, what they call a battleground states or swing states. So both candidates are doing their best to pitch in what their plans on policies are, and that's where we are now. For the next 2 weeks, people know, who is going to come up. Right now, both candidates are virtually tied. One day, probably Kamala Harris is up a point. Another day, Trump is up a point. But it's still a tight race, a razor-thin tight race. almost 20 million people already started voting through the early voting. So early voting will continue until November 2nd, and the election days will be November 5th.
Thank you, Dan. You mentioned Kamala Harris just came through. Don't you think Joe Biden should have stepped down earlier, before he was going through some embarrassing conversations? So don't you think he should have done that? Give her the opportunity to step up. And one thing I would say is that because she's a female, is that the reason she didn't get that first opportunity?
Well, American politics is a little bit different from anywhere else. Whether in the UK, probably the party appoints the candidate, and that will be the case in other places too. But America is a republic, means from the beginning, the start to finish, the people will choose it. To be a candidate, the first thing is primary challenges all across 50 states. You have to win certain number of vote and to be the nominee of the party. In 2020, Biden did that. Biden ran with Kamala, and Kamala lost in the beginning, but Biden advanced it to be the nominee, and he became the president after the general election. This time it's happened the same again. 2024, there was on any other candidate, rather only the president ran for re-election, or he was on the primary, and he got almost 14 million people voted for him. Kamala was on the ticket, but as a vice president. But things happened. I'm not getting into the Democratic politics, but there's something happened. The party decided, so no, Joe Biden is not good enough, so pull him out. Well, that's against the democratic policy of American politics. Put him up and install Kamala Harris. So Kamala Harris has some leeway by just being appointed as the presidential nominee, but she hasn't been in public. Whether she taken a good stand, she got a good opportunity to be a leader, but certain times, I don't know how, she did not step up herself to be that person. So that is what I said. She still has some way to go.
Yeah, I agree with you. Even though she was vice president, she was not showing her weight on the global platform. So I'll come to that in a minute. So on the global stage, what roles do you think each candidate could play if they won? Are there any significant differences between their approaches on policies that could affect America's global political leadership?
Yes, I think so. I think there will be a two different perspective, two different foreign policy. And everyone knows that what is Trump's policies, and he is very outright with it. He's very vocal about his policies towards, whether to the Middle East, to the China, to the Iran, and for NATO and those kind of things. He's already very vocal about it, and you will see two different foreign policy with both candidates, whether Kamala would be the president or Donald Trump will be the president. What I'm hearing from Kamala Harris is what she said in an interview with ABC News View. What she said is she would not do anything different. I don't know how many people watched that or not. She would not do anything differently from what President Biden did. That means we can almost see what Kamala Harris as a president will do. Will pretty much follow the same foreign policy. However, when you look at it, America, I'm not stepping into the political side of it. I'm trying to be in a nonpartisan. However, America in a world stage nowadays is weak. That's the truth of the matter is, because we see Afghanistan withdrawal was an embarrassment. I mean, for any country, especially for America doing that, it's just very embarrassment. Then Iran is advancing to a nuclear nation, or they're doing the enrichment of the nuclear proliferation, and America is not stopping, or no one is stopping in the world. That's a critical issue. And now Israel is getting attacked by Iran and Hezbollah and the Hamas and all. They are choked in all different directions. On the other side, Russia advanced to Ukraine and taken some of their land, and they are trying to conquer that nation. So around the world, what we see is a trouble, and there's no leadership. America should be one of the country. If it's not the only one, to take that leadership along with the NATO and the European countries like Britain and others. The American president should take that leadership. And we haven't seen that by Joe Biden. That's why he's not on the ballot. Kamala Harris, we don't know what she will do it. Whether we will see the wars will be stopped, that was something to wait and see.
Yeah, I agree with you. Russia's invasion of Ukraine put tremendous pressure on Europe, especially with the energy prices going up.
Exactly.
So you see the upcoming election, you might see some, change in the outcome based on the two candidates. Do you think?
Exactly. Whether, no one likes war, okay? Even if you could be the strongest nation among the face of the earth, they don't want war because casualties already there with the war. Look at Israel and Hamas, Iran, Hezbollah war. Almost 50,000 Hezbollah and Hamas people died, along with maybe thousands. It was 1,200 beginning of Israel's when they invaded Israel or attacked Israel, 1,200 plus several hundreds more. So we look in over 50,000 people died in the Middle East on the Israel-Hamas war. Similar to that, Ukraine, almost 250,000 people, 250,000 people died lost in. Look at the crisis, the energy crisis in Europe, Germany. They are in energy shortage because Russia is the one providing those energy sources to Europe, and they are in energy crisis. And that I don't see a way to get out of that unless you have a strong leadership to step in and say, enough is enough. Let's make a deal, whichever way is possible for both countries or all the countries is in stake, and stop the war. And by doing it, you will save millions of billions of dollars. America already spent almost $250 billion already for Ukraine. Ukraine is funded by America now. It's almost, that's ridiculous. You got to stop it. Ukraine is not going to win, period. And Russia, I don't think Russia has any advancement anyway. So whose war is this? War for ending nowhere? A never-ending war is not good for anyone, especially the Europe and Ukraine and other countries.
Sadly, how many lives are losing? To be honest, I don't even like watching television anymore because it's very sad stories. Every day you see people dying, through this war. So it has to stop. And as you said, US need to take the first step to take that initiative to stop that war, whatever it takes, because this can't continue anymore.
Definitely. America has to step up. They have to show the leadership and whoever the president will be. And the people will elect the next president. But the presidents need to step up and stop the war. We haven't seen that for the last 2 years. Like I said, America for the last 4 years under President Biden was weak. And the countries know it. Now the potential threat right now is China. China is looking opportunity. If something happens, a similar administration goes forward, we may see another invasion of China into Taiwan and in that area. So we will see some unrest in that area as well. So it's not a prediction, but there's potential.
So I want to talk about inflation and economy. That's one of the biggest issue globally now. So in your opinion, how would see the inflation, the broader economic changes under either President Trump or former President Trump or President Harris, Vice President Harris? So how do you see that?
Yes, inflation is what they call is under control. However, it's not still under control. The inflation numbers are down. That means that year over year inflation is probably 2 to 3% or 4%. However, it's cumulative. Whatever has increased, I'm not an economist, but whatever that increased, it did not come down. So the inflation moving forward, you got 4%. But what about the 20% increase in the last year or two? That's still there. That's what people are seeing. The rent increases almost 50%. Energy cost is still high, maybe 20, 30% or more. and food costs and grocery and rent, and those things are still increased. Inflation is still not under control. They have to do more. One thing America can do is, like I said, America set the stage. If whatever happens here, it will resonate to other part of the country. The value of the dollar is in different countries now. The dollar is higher, and the value of their own currency is getting lower. It's all based on the oil, because the oil price is getting high. Right now is putting under control or bringing down just using the reserve of America's strategic petroleum reserve. And that should not be the case, because that strategic reserve should be there for only for emergency issues. Now from almost a billion barrel to now probably 300 million barrels. So that was reduced. What we supply the strategic oil reserve into the market to bring the price down, artificially bringing the price down. But that should not be the case. America should start drilling in America, and the oil production should be the number one. When the oil comes down, all the prices along with it, grocery prices, rent, housing, those things will come down. So that will be the first thing any president, whether Trump or Kamala, has to do. Drill, baby, drill. Drill in America. The gas. If you look, now the gas in Europe comes from Russia. Well, how long they can depend on Russia for that? America has just more than enough. We are burning gas, natural gas. That's what should be going to Europe, not depending on Russia. So you will see some instability in certain areas, unless we take the right policy in America.
So another topic I want to talk about is the favorite topic is the immigration. This is a topic I hear all the time in UK politics as well.
Yes.
So how do you feel both candidates are approaching immigration? I know there's lots of debates are going. What do you expect if either of them win the election? Because I can see some clear divide between them on policies.
Exactly. So their immigration policies are very different. There's a drastic difference between Kamala Harris and President Trump. In fact, like I said earlier, Kamala Harris had an opportunity to stand up, step up, and be a leader. She was in charge of the immigration, and they call it border czar. The Republicans call her the border czar. I mean, she's supposed to be the person. But what happened was she hasn't even visited the border until last month. Any leader, when you have a problem, just see the problem, face the problem, and do whatever you can. That is what the leadership is. Stand up and do something. In my view, Vice President Kamala hasn't done that. There is, from last 4 years, what they had, open border. I know Kamala Harris is blaming President Trump for the immigration policy, what their comprehensive immigration policy, what they haven't passed it. Whether it's a policy or not, when you have an open border, for instance, your fence and your wall in your own home is broken, you're not bringing all your family members and say what we can do and sit there in 4 years and figure it out. First thing what you would do is get that border closed first. Kamala Harris and President Biden could have done in one day, it says, through an executive order, says we're going to shut down the border. There is no blame game. It should not be a blame game. However, the border is open, almost 20 million, and nobody knows the numbers. Even the other day was asked how many people crossed. Nobody knows. You know how things are in Europe, in other places. So 20 million people crossed over, and now U.S. is spending billions and billions of dollars. Okay, almost 250 billion so far they spent for these undocumented immigrants. They're not documented. You don't know where they come from. You don't have any information about them, where they're living there. All what the American government is doing now is sheltering them in hotels and places and spending average $6,000 per person per immigrant, and nothing returned. They don't pay tax. There is no documentation. I mean, that is not a healthy economy, healthy immigration system. Close the border, pass the immigration bill, comprehensive immigration bill. If it's not, your executive order is good enough, any person can do it. they should be doing it. Trump said, day one, I will close the border. That's why it's giving him popularity. Right now, his numbers are uptending. The momentum is on President Donald Trump because immigration is a big issue, economy is a big issue, foreign war is a big issue, and crime is a big issue. And all this thing, Trump has advantage. Other than the abortion. Abortion, Trump is not that popular, especially the women's rights, what they call. Right now, the momentum is on President Trump's side. If nothing happens, no miracle happens from now until 2 weeks, you will see President Trump in the office. But I'm not here to predict that.
So, is there any final thoughts you have, Dan, on both these, candidates?
Well, personally speaking, I'm a pro-life person. Pro-life means you support the life even before birth. That's what my belief is, except certain cases. What President Biden said, it's rape, incest, and those kind of issues. The doctor and the parent or the mother makes a decision. However, other than that, what President Trump, his policy right now, he is speaking about it, is that abortion issue is given to the state. For the last 50 years, it was a federally mandated rule that the federal government mandated, and now is taken out of the federal government and given to the state. The Supreme Court made that decision to give it to state. So each state, based on the popularity, they pass a bill whether abortion is allowed or not. Certain states are not allowing it, except few cases. Different states has it, but now it's given to the people. So if people want it, and just like any other legislative policies, is pass it. Certain states has, like California has it, New York has it, and Texas, the state that I live, don't have abortion, is not legal. So it's given to the state. That is what President Trump's stand is. And the other side, Kamala Harris say, well, we should have a national abortion policy that, the federal government need to mandate those things. But remember, if federal government mandates something, it's up to the federal government, not up to the people. So if you live in a democratic world, who should be having control? The person, including the mother, including the female, should be controlling it. So you know what? It's a perfect scenario given to the state right now. Let the state decide it. The people decide it. The woman decide it. That is the policy. That is what we are right now. If you look at it in certain states, it's in the ballot. And some women are coming out for it and some women against it. And that will bring a lot of female. That's one of the reasons Kamala Harris has more female support. And the other side, President Trump has more men support.
So that's an insightful conversation. Is there anything else you want to add on before we wrap up? So really, truly appreciate you sharing your perspective, such critical issues, because as we mentioned before, this is going to be impacting globally. It's not just USA, is it? So is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
Well, every day the world is watching. They can't wait enough to see November 5th. November 5th will be a different date for America and the world. So, like I said, the momentum on each candidate, they are doing their best. They are doing in the swing state, the seventh state, like I said earlier, that is Michigan and Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Georgia and North Carolina, and two western states, Nevada and Arizona. These are the 7 battleground states they have to win to get the 270 electoral vote. That's what these candidates, both Kamala Harris and President Trump, are doing right now. They're doing different things. And the other day I saw President Trump, Donald Trump, went to a McDonald's and frying French fries and going to a barbershop. There's all interesting thing. On the other side, Kamala Harris has celebrities as doing her campaign work. Elon Musk, outright, he is fully campaign for President Donald Trump. So the campaigns are is picking up momentum, coming to in the very closure. So if anyone listen to me, come out and vote. You have your right to vote. That is your vote is your voice. Go and vote early from now until November 2nd, and the election day will be November 5th. Don't wait around that day. And I keep telling, I worked in the campaign here locally. That's my message to everyone. You just come out and vote for the right candidate. Look what you are, what you want to see in America. But I appreciate you taking time to talking with me, honey. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I just want to mention, if Kamala Harris win this election, she would make history as the first female president of US. Additionally, she would be the first woman of Black and South Asian descent as well. So, yeah, so wait and see, because this is a massive milestone for everyone to watch, and only 2 weeks away, or less than 2 weeks. So thank you so much for being with me today and offering such clear, well-rounded, your view on this big election. I'm sure our listeners have gained lots of insights. I know we can't look for this.
Yeah, my last word is, honey, is it will be a historic win for Kamala Harris to be the first female vice president in the United States, or it will be a historic comeback for the 45th president to become the 47th president. So in both ways, it will be historic.
Of course, it would be either way. It's a waiting game for all of us now. So because 2 weeks will pass, and we wait and see. And it's as you mentioned, the policies they're going to make is going to make a global impact, and the person who needs to win is make the right policy for the world. That's critical. So even though I have my favorites in different ways, it's about policies, because that's going to impact globally. So to our audience, stay tuned. We continue to explore more global topics, personal stories, or over a cup of tea. Until next time, this is Hony Premlal. You have been listening to High Tea with Honey. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dan.